And we're back! Welcome to another extra special episode of Awesome Stuff Badly with me, Uncle Dr. Ernie. For the first time ever, we have three people on the conference call. Me and David, who handles our beginner experience, and Daniel, who's in charge of our programmer experience. And we are diving into the code, and we are going to start by praying. David, do you feel up for praying, or should I?
How about you?
Okay. Dear God, just thank you for this morning. Thank you for David and Daniel being here. I pray you would bless our time, help us to create something that will not just bring kids into programming turtles, but maybe grown-ups who've had a little bit of programming or have thought about programming. Help us create a project where they feel empowered to come in and start writing real code and contributing to the open source community. That would be an awesome thing to achieve. I have no idea how to do it, but we're going to do what we can and see what miracles you provide along the way. I look forward to seeing what you do, and I hope that you enjoy what we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so I will make this present to everyone. So I think that means it will not jump out too much when you do it. So David and I have been working on a Start Here document, Daniel. And I realize I should actually say something about Node. The compilation location, that too, is done with a system called Node that allows JavaScript tools to run on outside the browser. And let's see, we have some links around Node. Coffee. Described in the package.json file and gulp to run the make the compilation. PM and gulp. That's not very useful. Package manager and PMJS. Yeah. Is this actually the best single link for npm? I guess this is what it is. We'll leave it as an exercise for JS. At least it's nice and symmetric. Any comments from the peanut gallery, or does this seem straightforward and useful?
I'll post a different link for the Node introduction.
Okay.
Or that, yeah.
Great. Is it worthwhile pushing some of these changes up to the repository now in case you want to start tweaking it, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do that. Master, git merge, code review, gulp tag. Sorry, I shouldn't be changing that in mid commit. Docs. Checkout dash B code dash review. Oh, right. Okay. All right. Development tasks. And gulp. Okay, so the object model. Coffee correctly. So I'm thinking the best word to use to describe this layer I built on top of React Coffee is the term object model, which I describe as a way of organizing our methods to make it easier to see what we're doing. I can't think of a better way to describe an object model. Do you have any ideas, Daniel?
No, that seems like a fine description.
Okay. So the okay, so our primary factory is the God object, which stands for global object domain, among other things. Then is in the god/world.coffee object defined in tactics. The job of the runtime is to means to values and actions. As we define them there. So this is where things get really interesting. When we were talking about documentation, we were initially talking about the I think you were talking most about like API level documentation, right, Daniel? About like defining specific methods.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I was thinking more about was this conceptual stuff here. I think we'll start hearing about. So the most of the black magic that goes on is in the world object. The one possibility is that the start here document ends there. Although actually there's probably, and then there's all the stuff that's under God. So that explains what's under God and config. And then actually no, I think we should talk about games. That's the next. Probably the next thing to go, and this is actually, so there's a, actually let's actually talk about this. So it sounds like it would be good to have a like top level comment here explaining what this file does for people who are reading through the code.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your preferred style for doing that? Comment block at the top?
Yeah, comment block works.
Okay. Single hash, 3 hashes.
For now, you can start with single hashes. If I figure out a way to work out like really detailed documentation formatting, it'll be my job to apply that.
Okay. Are you creating issues for these things that you mentioned you're going to do, or?
Yeah, I should.
Okay. So the job basically for this thing, I think, is for you to file issues and David to ask questions.
All right.
So roll.coffee, the runtime, so the responsibility, role, define our object model on top of reactive coffee, responsibility, loosely defined names to signals. This is where I think documentation can help highlight design flaws. Is that should be the primary, honestly, and then there's warts. Also, what else do we do? We right, interface. Well, I think in fact that's really, let's actually walk through what it is doing versus what it's supposed to be doing. So it provides an interface to reactive coffee. That is part of its job, putting a wrapper on top of reactive coffee. This is all the name bit here. So which also includes manage scope and inheritance. I think that's part of it. So, reactive coffee primitives and scope and inheritance. Works. It also implements a way to send and handle events, which isn't necessarily part of that, although it might be. Let's just put them all in there, and then we can see. It's like technically that is binding a name to signals. So this is called send and handle events. Then construct world from dictionaries. So I think maybe these are not unreasonable things to have here. Having them all in one file is making it a bit tedious. Distribute events among children, child worlds, locate child and parent worlds, and Then maybe let's leave this as a to-do. These sub-roles into separate files or modules. Because it actually is, I think, when I look at it, it seems like it actually loosely binding names to signals is how I define a runtime, and all these things do sort of fit that concept, but it's just a lot to have in one file. So if you're willing to give yourself an issue or an action item to look at that, Daniel, see if you can think of a more elegant way to organize this or restructure it, that would be awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
But I actually feel better about it. Okay. Does that look like a good comment?
It does.
Okay. Let's keep going then. Render. Do you have any opinion about whether or not having the name of the file in the README is a good thing or not?
I think it does end up being helpful.
Because not every editor makes it obvious what file you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So roll reverse the world and its play the world and its children on a web page. Responsibility. What's it? Responsibility. It's to displayable attributes of worlds. Which was this couple of these worlds under updatable way as HTML. Out to draw to render SVG graphics. And to do, yes. Merge more slash refactor with draw code. So the history, Daniel, is at first I created the draw code, and then I realized that it seemed inefficient to do everything in SVG. So I basically copied and pasted it to an HTML rendering and have it shim out to the SVG drawing code where necessary. David, are you still there? Is this at all useful for you? Is this giving you a sense for what the code is doing?
Yeah, certainly having comments definitely will be needed. I think from a totally
Beginner
view, or a beginner user just coming in looking at this, yeah, I think we're going to need comments throughout the code, and maybe I don't know. I was thinking as you were writing this stuff, I was thinking that I could delve into it, take some time to delve into it, and come up maybe with some other terms that might be easier for new users to understand.
Yeah.
And maybe come up with a side document that's kind of like a help to the comments.
Awesome. You got that as an issue, Daniel? David should be in the project now, so you can assign that to him.
Okay, sure.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, and the David commenting on the code will probably be somewhat dependent on Daniel's cleaning up the code and me fixing the architecture. We're getting somewhere. And so then let's expect that. Type render. That's weird. And then draw code. Draw copy. Play as SVG graphics. Um, yeah, use G transforms, create local coordinate systems. Use SVG paths to draw the images. Display the name as text in specified style. Using, not suing. See if we're being consistent here. Yeah, we're using my here, but we're not using it here, so we should. No, there isn't. We never use it anywhere. Interesting. Okay, it's there if we need it. All right. And that is most of our CoffeeScript, but not all, because we have two top-level things here. Okay, this is actually test.coffee. We should probably have a section on the test suite. Right. Rather than trying to describe it, that would be a documentation smell to describe the philosophy and tool chain in here. We got 4 minutes left. I'm just going to stub this in for now. And so we have describe file format and formatters. Describe the tape test harness. There's the in-browser execution, and then there's the conditional running only is my.test if not on production. Right. And then new file here, sure does. I think it does responsibility, load and run test modules, and green successful, red if failed, yellow if not run.
So, is your test stuff, is that essentially a game?
No, these are, so our test files are a series of what are called unit tests. So these things are, so let's say, okay, describe unit testing. Um, um, unit testing. So this is what's called a unit test. This set is the unit tests here, and they rely on a test game here, which is the thing I load for testing purposes.
Yeah, I wanted to know the difference between the code and an actual test game.
Uses games/game testing coffee as a fixture, I think is the term. So I wonder if instruction. Thank you. Yes. Hub describe test. And then, wait. Then games. All right. The all of the above is just the game engine. The actual games that our users will play and create live in the games folder. Games consist of getting a separate section on programs. Maybe we'll put it in here. Let's see. Consist of I can't see enough to think straight. And I'm overlapping them. Okay, it consists of sprites. Objects that are drawn on the screen. Interact. I guess we should look at this here. So levels that what will consist of Or a better way to use levels. Each level. I don't know. That's not it. It's right. It's a recursively definition there. Any one of you can feel free to jump in with a better description either now or later. Right. The other thing that I was realizing is that my list of signals, which is right now in the config file, is probably the thing that should live, that should actually be part of the game. And that's the, this is actually the last discussion. Let's close on this. The thing that I've been wrestling with is where does the programming actually, so I have a runtime for my object model. I also need something like a VM. Let's actually go back to stop. Actually, look you and at least myself in the face and talk this through. You got the link there. We'll actually add that later. So we have an object model, which is a runtime, which is the list of the low-level properties and behavior. And then we need something one level above that, which is the thing that takes what the kids are doing on the screen and translates it into things understood by the runtime. So that's basically our programming language, although it's it's kind of like this is where I'm not sure if my thinking is brilliant or fundamentally flawed. We have a runtime which takes our dictionaries and translates those into CoffeeScript behaviors. And then we have another layer above it which takes the buttons in the UI and the names that are associated with them and turns them into signals. So going back to the code here, so here I call them signals, and then these words are the things that describe my UI, right? So this is these are the programs that I create, and they define in terms of these words here. And then I have these, and this is really an environment or a language or abstractions. And like figuring out this thing is actually probably where a lot of the magic happens, because we're basically, this is the API, if you will, that we're exposing from the runtime. This is the, let's just call it programs. The interface describing what. So the acronym is API. It's the SDK. It's the headers. I don't know if we even have a good word for this thing that isn't horribly technical. The users will actually program. We use all sorts of weird geeky words for this. Any suggestions or thoughts?
I'd probably have to think through it.
Okay. How about we call it a language as a starting point? Because it's a series of words.
All right.
All right. That gives me a metaphor for thinking about it. And actually, I feel better about the code than I did when we started. I feel like there's obviously a lot of warts, but the basic architecture actually makes some amount of sense. which is thinking about a language that the game actually is actually creating languages, not just using them, is actually part of the magic of what the game is. So let me just commit this. Games as language. Git checkout master. Git merge code review. Give me 10 seconds. I'm almost done here. Git status. Git gulp tag. And add docs, or add file level comments. And I realized the only thing we didn't actually, let me just take 5 minutes and figure this out. Check out code dash review. The only thing that we didn't actually I don't know why I randomly start inserting new lines in my code here. That we didn't actually document was main and my. Let me just give myself to-dos for someone to-dos for this, so that we actually, could you just, Daniel, just create issues for document, main, and my, other than me mucking around with it now, and that means actually all the sort of pure CoffeeScript files will be covered, and then we actually have to start dealing with the config, which is a important but slightly distinct problem. Cool. Thank you, guys. I hope this was educational and helpful for you.
It was.
Good, and we actually got some stuff done, and it helps me think much more clearly about the project. I mean, that's the thing that's realizing, is that by honoring the programmer experience, I am honoring the programmer within me. And a lot of doing great work is understanding which parts of yourself do you honor and which parts of yourself do you crucify. And figuring out which those are is remarkably difficult. Is like, no, I need to just suck this up and squelch that pain to keep pushing through it, or oh my God, you really love this part of myself and I should honor it, even if it's incredibly inconvenient, like my children knocking on the door right now, which I'm going to go honor. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your weekend, get some exercise, spend time with people you love, and let me know when you're next available to hang out. God bless.
All right.
Goodbye.
All right.